My name is Ariel Rodriguez. I am based out of Miami, Florida, with Zscaler. I've been in the cybersecurity industry for 6 years now. Before Zscaler, I was with VMware, specifically Carbon Black, and now I am leading the LATAM team for Zscaler for the commercial business. But my job here today is to show you a little bit more about what Zero Trust is. I'm sure you guys have seen it on billboards, banners. Some even have products named after Zero Trust. So my job here is to really outline what is true about Zero Trust and some myths and how to really take that and grow your foundation and have those strong pillars to build on top of the new data protection law that's coming up already. So at Zscaler, we envision a world in which the exchange of information is always seamless and secure. We fundamentally believe that Zero Trust architecture is key to realizing the vision. As you will learn throughout the session today, one of the reasons we decided to come to this event is to help you separate the fact from fiction. Unfortunately, much of the confusion that comes around Zero Trust is driven by some vendors, like I mentioned. But let's spend some time discussing, what true Zero Trust architecture looks like and how to implement it and the benefits of it as well. So increasingly, as we speak to our 7,000 customers across all industries, we see that globalization, hybrid work, and cloud are leading to hyper distribution of resources, where people, apps, data, and devices are everywhere, right? Think about how most of you either have a mobile, a laptop, an iPad. You bring it home, you bring it to work. Who knows? Maybe some of you even let your kids use it as a game sometimes, right? So data is everywhere, apps are everywhere, devices are everywhere. When many of us started in IT, we had people in our offices and apps in our data centers. That's how it went. Now we have things like containers, microservices. So an app could be spread over multiple clouds and data centers with data everywhere. Also, depending on your industry, you have IoT, OT in the mix as well. But at the end of the day, all this digitalization enables organizations to take ideas from conception to implementation faster than ever. It's a good thing. It means we've evolved. It means we've changed. It means we adapted, similar to what you guys are all going to go through in the next couple of months as you adapt to this change that's coming up. So it's well documented that there are several challenges when supporting a hybrid workplace. As much benefit as it brings, there's a couple of things that you need to work on, that you need to keep in mind. For security, IT, networking teams, HR, wherever it is, right? There's a lot of change and a lot of adapting that you need to do. Several reports, including Zscaler's own report on VPN risk and internal threat research, revealed a few sobering stats. 3x increase in the number of cyber threats coming from the open internet. More organizations are relying on traditional remote access solutions such as VPNs, firewalls to give application access to their distribution or distributed workforce. The security, right, vulnerabilities of VPNs and firewalls are well documented through various different breaches, hacks, etc. But 60%, and this is the more important stat too that we've seen, is 60% of the respondents to the VPN survey revealed that in addition to the security threats, the increase in the cost to maintain these equipments was mounting rather rapidly. Sometimes organizations also have multiple VPNs, which make it worse. They don't have one, they have two, or they have three, and 80% of the time their users aren't even using it. So cost, complexity, again, the list goes on and on. Across the board, organizations also witnessed a 35% increase in the number of supporting or support tickets, especially since you can't just walk over to IT and say, hey, fix this, which I know a lot of you used to get that interaction. So now tickets are coming up. That interaction can't be had face-to-face. It either has to happen through Teams or you have to drive to somewhere and do that exchange. Or in some cases, for me, a couple of weeks ago, something happened with my computer, so I had to ship it out. And I was computerless for a day or two, causing downtime, et cetera. So It's a couple sobering stats that we like to point out there and just put out there and see how people react to it, because it is pretty interesting just to see a couple of those numbers. So looking at the future, this is unlikely to change, except for a few small percent of companies who have gone fully remote, like Airbnb, Dropbox, et cetera. Every other organization, though, is still expecting people to come back into the office. So it's more than likely that hybrid work is here to stay. You either are going to work from home Monday and Friday, because those are the best days to work from home, obviously, long weekend. But you're going to come into the middle of the week and get what you need to get done, right? I think Londo's saying that his Mondays are admin days, so he likes to take them from home, even though he lives, 2 blocks away from the office there. So not to single you out, but so hybrid work is here to stay. So how do we address that, right? What are the requirements around it? Seamless access to any app to employees. Huge. This will broadly come down to the lack of access to apps directly, and that hurts productivity. Advanced zero trust-based cyber threat prevention capabilities. Having that is a must. That's how you protect everything. That's how you protect yourself, your coworkers, your clients, your company. Powerful data protection, right? Today, data is more distributed than ever before. They're on our devices, removable media, SaaS apps, public cloud, infrastructure, you name it. We need a holistic approach to data protection across all these channels. This morning, we talked a little bit about how data exists everywhere, whether it's on your phone, right? If you have a contact from someone you met at a networking event like today, Will mentioned that a picture can be data now as well. So a lot of us have that. So you need to make sure that the powerful data protection that you have installed and in place is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then lastly, enhanced visibility and troubleshooting capabilities. SentinelOne is a great approach to that. Visibility, turning on the lights. A lot of our environments are a little dark. You kind of have to feel around the walls. You make sure you don't step on any Legos that may hurt your feet, right, that you don't see. You just got to turn those lights on with those visibility features that you have from implementing a strong posture. And now you're able to see. You're able to see what's underneath the bed, what's in the closet, etc. So organizations have a choice to make. They're preparing for a supportive hybrid workplace. They need to either double down on existing investments, using point solutions to address those gaps, or use the opportunity to redefine their infrastructure and future-proof it for the next few decades. This is similar to the argument around meeting today's energy needs in the world while balancing out for environmental implications. Oil and gas versus cleaner forms of energy. They both are sources of energy. One of them is a lot cleaner. It took time, right, to develop, but once you switch to it, you set yourself up for long-term success. Solar panels, right? They may cost a lot. You may have to get up on your roof to actually install them, but once it's there, you're saving a lot of money and some other benefits as well. So every choice has a consequence. The consequences will be directly related to the path they choose. One is zero-based trust, one is not. The choice is yours type of play. So with people, apps, data, and devices everywhere, there's an ever-increasing attack surface, which is more difficult to protect than ever. Attackers are getting more and more sophisticated. We've heard it during Andal's presentation. We've heard it this morning quite a few times, right? I don't like to have it be a dark, scary cloud above people's heads. Maybe the insurance guy does because he's like, hey, that's more money for me. But besides the point, it is something that we have to look at. Yes, it's cliche saying, hey, doom is coming. But at the end of the day, there's two types of companies. Ones who know that they've been hacked, ones who have been hacked and don't know it yet. So attackers are getting more and more sophisticated, using innovations like ransomware as a service, AI, social engineering to rapidly probe weaknesses and find their way inside. If we were to access the dark web right now, you can go buy a ransomware variant for under $1 if you really wanted to, and if you looked hard enough. So it's out there. Just, it is what it is. So this chaos turns into, or this chaos in turns offers a massive opportunity for attackers, right? Attackers all have the same basic building blocks, a sequence of events that attackers have to achieve to be successful. First, they are going to perform reconnaissance. They'll scan the internet to see the applications and assets you have exposed. They'll hunt for vulnerabilities, etc. Next, they move to compromise the system. Application exploits, brute force, whatever it is. Once they're in, they move laterally. Often, they'll move to the Active Directory to figure out who has the most access, and then they try to see where else they can move to. In many cases, they'll exfiltrate data or otherwise communicate outbound to command and control servers to execute later attack stages. So what we need is a way to disrupt that kill chain. With that, organizations are embracing cloud, mobility, AI, IoT, and OT technologies to make the business more agile and competitive. Users want direct access to apps from anywhere at any time. It no longer makes sense to route traffic back to the data center to accurately reach applications in the cloud. When you do application, network, and security transformation, that is called digital transformation. Digital transformation makes your business more agile, more competitive, so you can make better decisions. If your competitors are doing it, you better be doing it too. As information is available more quickly, your user productivity improves, and overall, your risk goes down. Also, cost and complexity goes down. Those are two major points that I hit on earlier. All these point product tools are adding more work to your day. They're adding up in dollars. They're adding up in spend. We were having a conversation back there with a couple of different players in the game who have everything under a lock and key. Hey, you want that feature? Give me X amount for it. Hey, you need that feature turned on? Sure, we can give you a 1-week trial, but then you got to pay me for it. What's the point in that, right? If you can just have everything with a reduced cost and less complex, I mean, I wouldn't even have to be up here talking to you guys if every tool offered that, right? So something to keep in mind. So where can zero trust architecture help? One, by using network transformation, by using the cloud to provide ubiquitous connectivity to resources anywhere. And then two, by using security transformation, by bringing a new model to secure users, workloads, and devices anywhere. So next, with so many vendors claiming their products are zero trust, there are many myths, misconceptions about what it really is. So let's take a few minutes to talk about that, talk about the evolution when it comes down to connectivity and security, and dispel some of those myths. So in the early 2000s, most organizations had basically a flat network, right? Perimeter firewalls that protected our network from external threats. If you're inside the firewall, you were trusted. If you're outside, you were not trusted. But we all know that it's really not that simple, right? Again, we would all have big smile on our faces if it was that simple. We had branch offices connecting over the whole wide area network, remote users connecting their endpoints to the internal network. And then we all tried to segment the network with VLANs or different subnets used for various different purposes. But this initial concept of separation through network segmentation was extremely difficult and limited. I know people who are still trying to do it and have headaches today about trying to segment the network, and they just convolute everything and it all starts rolling downhill. So for the last 30 years, organizations have been building and optimizing complex wide area hub and spoke networks. These hubs and spoke networks were secured with complex stacks of appliances using an architecture known as castle and moat. It's not out of the fairy tale. It's actually very complicated and very hard to do. So with this approach, right, served fairly well when our applications resided in our data centers. We knew where they were. We knew where we kept them. We knew what they were doing. But as the applications started moving to the cloud in the last, who knows, 8, 10 years, right? The architecture of 30 years actually became an enabler of cyber threats, ransomware, et cetera. So why, after spending millions of dollars on network and security, are we still uncomfortable at night? So here's the challenge with traditional networks, and why are they no longer effective? Attackers have figured out very effective ways of penetrating these environments. And listen, I know this is not new, right? A lot of you may have this specific posture. A lot of our customers that we talk to have this specific posture. Our job is to show you what else is new out there and how we're doing it and applying it to what you're doing it and track those changes. Maybe it doesn't happen overnight, and I guarantee you it won't happen overnight, but you can take those steps to start minimizing this risk and working to become more of a zero trust posture based. So with this specifically, right, first, attackers will find your attack surface. The bad guys can easily find your attack surface. Every IP that connects to the internet is an attack, essentially. It may be applications, it may be your firewall, it may be your VPN, every internet-facing device, whether in a data center, cloud, or branch, is an attack surface. So they compromise you, right? They often use stolen credentials, et cetera, bypass. But thirdly, they move laterally. Once inside, attackers move throughout your network, locating high-value targets from ransomware and other attacks. So they steal your data after exploiting your high-value assets. They leverage trusted outbound services, SaaS, IaaS, PaaS solutions to set up back channels and exfiltrate the data at the end of the day. So why is that so pertinent, right? So let's go through an analogy using physical security measures. So here you have a visitor. The visitor walks up to the front desk, much like what you guys did earlier today. So now that visitor has access to the building, it can go around room to room because it has access to the buildings. Someone's coming out of the break room, door stays open, that person's gonna go in, snoop around, same thing in the server room, same thing in the printing room, whatever it is. That's the same thing as if you're connecting to a VPN. Once you're connected, you can move around. Now, with zero trust architecture, similar approach, you're coming up to the front desk, we're taking your credentials, but now what we've done is we've identified you, we've seen who you are, we have done our research to see what your intentions are, but to take it a step further, we're gonna have David attached to your hip. So when you go to the bathroom, David will wait outside just to make sure, he doesn't wanna do any of that, but at the same time, right, he's gonna wait, you're gonna come out, and he's gonna follow you. You're going into the server room, he's gonna be there. Oh, you wanna check out the server? Sure, let's go see him, but I'm gonna be right next to you. You wanna go into the break room? Sure, let's go. I'll be right next to you though. So by having that escort, serving you around, making sure that to see where you need to go, you have that visibility, you have that enforced policy. You're able to control the actions of what's actually trying to happen. And that's exactly what you can do with a zero trust posture. So three very important things to really look at when you're trying to identify what do I need to do to start, or how do I even think about starting my journey, my digital transformation, my overall goal of implementing a zero trust architecture. There's three things that you really need to take a look at. Three things that you must depend on. You must verify, you must control, and you must enforce. Unlike a pass-through firewall, architecture, a zero trust architecture terminates the connection and verifies, identify, and context by asking, who are you? What is the context and where are you going? Next, a zero trust architecture exercises control over content and access by assessing the level of risk associated with the request and inspecting the traffic to prevent compromise the data loss. Finally, the zero trust architecture enforces policy on a per session basis to determine what conditional actions to take regarding the requested connection. These three things here, folks, if you take anything away from my presentation, it's this. To successfully implement zero trust architecture, you must be verifying, you must be controlling, and you must be enforcing. Can be with us, can be with another solution, but if you don't have these three pillars, it's going to be a weak foundation, and it's going to be hard to get back to this point. So many of you are starting your digital transformation. Many of you haven't maybe even thought about it yet, but you will, right? And you will take a look at this. So I urge you to, when you're looking at how to start, how to progress, how to build, these three pillars are included in that plan moving forward. So conversely, let's take a look at what zero trust architecture does not do. It doesn't implicitly trust anyone or anything. Even if we were to grant you access this morning, your request will be evaluated separately in the afternoon. So you leave to your car, you come back to the event, we're still going to check you at the front, make sure you are who you are, the context of your visit, etc. Unlike firewalls, it will not put users and apps on a routable network, which again enables lateral movement, the biggest use case we've seen. And then finally, a zero trust architecture will not enable encrypted traffic to bypass controls. Simply because it is encrypted, it still inspects all traffic, included encrypted traffic, for threats or sensitive data loss. Encrypted traffic, even though it's encrypted, still needs to be read, because that's where a lot of the stuff that we're seeing comes through. So now that we have discussed zero trust architecture in general, let's discuss the Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange, which is the one true zero trust platform and the largest security cloud on the planet. The Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange makes it possible to achieve a zero trust architecture that's seamless, secure, and scalable. If you would love, or if you would like to understand the cloud a little bit more from our perspective, we're doing some great work with the Info Exchange team on setting up some educational demos with our engineering resources to make sure that you're all caught up on what we do and how we do it. One of the things we're most proud of at Zscaler is our Net Promoter Score, shown on the left, which is how often people recommend our solution to their peers. We're also proud of the operational excellence we've developed running the world's largest security cloud over many years, now spanning 150 exchanges around the world and handling 250 billion requests per day. Something to note is with Zscaler, we own and operate all of our data centers, meaning you're going to do business with someone who has a physical key to that physical data center that your assets are going to be pinging off of. That can't be said for anyone else in our space. You can see that many of the top companies across multiple verticals, which are our customers are also our partners who continue to provide input into innovation on our platform and products. So today, and more specifically this afternoon, we're going to talk a lot about what good looks like. What does good compliance look like? How do I start my digital transformation? How do I get up and running? But for us, we've all heard of security in depth. That requires an ecosystem. Zscaler has partnered with other leading platforms to offer deep API integrations for faster, more reliable deployments. One of them, who's in the room today, SentinelOne, being our preferred endpoint solution, which we do a lot of great work with, have done joint demos, joint POCs, joint deployments with, and I believe he is following up my presentation with some of his more intel on that matter.